Well, I do have backup. Insofar as I have backup, then I already know that there is tampering with evidence and an effort to alter the record. There are several videos that are currently missing from my YouTube concerning information regarding events at Corpus Christi, as well as in consideration of finding information in the form of newspapers that had public notices, including ones that reveal an intentional effort for somebody alleging that they are qualified to represent themselves as a member of the government in the form of elected political office, stealing my actual work products that were also connected to what would have been used to secure the people and provide assurance of cooperation in the event that there was another security matter that needed attending to, and using it in an effort to not only defame me, but to compromise national security by giving the appearances of completely unethical and unreliable behavior by members of the government, including during a time frame wherein it would have been important for them to be available for a response. Allowing for sexual activity to be used not only to extort people in a manner that's completely inappropriate, because people's sexual activities should be their own matter and should not be coerced into some sort of financialization or commercialization, including in manners that try to compel one to exhibit a form of fealty akin to the kind of posturing or presenting that one is required to do in the course of gang recruitment. But also because people that have capabilities should be able to be forthrightly addressed so that they can be literally involved in assuring matters are attended to appropriately rather than provided as some form of excess via ulterior means to engage in processes that undermine whatever the espoused efforts are. So, with that understood, there are at least 4 videos right now that should be instantly accessible that could have been a part of a response to information has recently come to light. Specifically, there is a response identifying how a list of small business endeavors that have been supported by and through not only the Environmental Protection Agency but other agencies regarding the use of bioremediation in addressing an oil spill, which was done at the beginning of August as a response not only to finding the information that I found at the time, but also understanding that there was illegal and unconstitutional efforts afoot in relationship to an alleged special session. My understanding is that when a governor of a state calls a special session, that is based on the good faith and credit of the people per him and his credibility. If he is engaged in intentionally unconstitutional manners that compromise security within the state, by allowing for information and projects to be collapsed under him and under his credit that he himself cannot back up or that illegal, then he doesn't have the credit to sustain calling a special session, especially if we're talking about matters that should already have been addressed in the regular session. And concurrent to that, there were very important needs that had to be met, including related to security, that are not even on the agenda. And while what is on the agenda is allowed to be promulgated, these other matters apparently have been intentionally sabotaged. Because that video was also in connection with at least 2 videos responding directly to events in Corpus Christi, including in connection with allegations that the specific processes that were ongoing at this time regarding Refinery Row were in a situation that they needed an immediate response, including an immediate response to shut down certain kinds of refining operations that I contend were intentionally being manipulated at that time to exacerbate conditions domestically and to manipulate markets internationally in the course of highly illegal activity that was aimed at some form of destabilization associated with illegal activity in and by state actors in the state of Texas. I contended at the time and still contend that they constitute violations of the 13th and the 14th Amendment. And anybody, including anybody internationally, that might have agreed to some sort of illegal brokering of human beings as property to be identified as available in some sort of financial arrangement, including in connection with alleged gas and oil production, or including in connection with any other kind of energy production, up to and including renewable or green energy, is co-conspiring with violations of the 13th and 14th Amendment. Your contract terms have no legal standing in the United States. And insofar as you have refused to declare yourself and your intent, we are under absolutely no obligation to honor any of the aspects of those contracts. Just so you know. On the other hand, that information could have been available in order to demonstrate that there was already consciousness and cognizance, and there were very important timelines that needed to be acknowledged to assure that it wasn't appearing as if people within the United States were not in a situation where they were already ready to take responsibility. As I said, part of what should have been available at that time was an understanding that there's already more than 10 years worth of small businesses that have engaged in processes of bioremediation. By this time, if there was actually a need to address and to be a part of some sort of international effort to provide an ethical and hopefully non-catastrophic response to a contamination event, up to and including an oil spill involving potential damage to a body of water that provides a vital resource for people in a different part of the world, it would have been available. And with all the other things that are going on with the other kinds of first responses here, it could have also been executed effectively. Why would that information be missing now? Why today, when it's absolutely necessary that specific information be available? Did somebody else take it upon themselves to access my electronic records and make that inaccessible? Whatever the priorities are that are being attempted, they are not appropriate. And the unfortunate thing is, it's this sort of manner in which, if it were expected that I was to provide for compensation for people involved in security roles up to and including the military, I don't have confirmation of documentation of my own financial capabilities. By the way, the authority for these matters is not under any of the last three alleged presidents of the United States. I've contended formally, and I will be following through on my charges that they are involved in and have yet to formally repudiate their involvement in a criminal conspiracy that is substituting itself in the stead of actual effective statecraft or representation of the people of the United States of America.